Gonna make a banana nut loaf in the bread machine, and this is not a traditional recipe. It's a little bit different. I try to get away from some of the sugar, so I substituted some sugar with honey, but these are all the dry ingredients in there. Put a little cinnamon for flavor. And I'm going to help the bread machine by, everything is room temperature right now, so I'm just going to put all the wet ingredients in here, and instead of using buttermilk or milk, I'm using Greek yogurt. Why? Because I'm just cutting down on a few calories and seeing how this works out. So we have this and this so far for the wet, and we're going to get a whip. I'm not sure of the setting on the bread machine for this. It's not doing what I thought it would do, so I have it on just bake. And this way I'm sure about everything mixing well. A little vanilla. And this is the dry. Everything dry is in there, and I'm going to mix that up and get a nice the baking powder, the baking soda, and I'm using, instead of walnuts, I'm using pistachio nuts, and I put dry cranberry in there, not the sweet ones. And that should be good for the mixing. I'm going to put I'm using brown sugar because I'm looking for a dark loaf, so this will help the color. And honey to replace some of the sugar. And to get all the honey out, I will take the spatula. Okay, takes care of that. Move that there. And the butter, room temperature. I'm using regular salted butter. This way I don't have to add salt. If you used sweet butter, you have to add salt to the mix. So why not just use regular butter and eliminate the salt? And then the bananas kind of could be a little darker than this, but they're nice and soft. And we will get the amount, which looks like 2 bananas. Which is just about shy of a cup and a half. I thought my 2 bananas would make a cup and a half, but I guess not. So this is going to take a little pounding to get that mix. That's not bad. I'm going to mix this as soon as I smooth out the bananas, leaving it up to the bread machine to mix everything, I think is a waste, and I'm going to get a better mix by doing this by hand and just allowing the bread machine to bake it. Now we could have little chunks of banana. If you really want to smooth this out, you just put this in a Cuisinart. Now you add the dry to this, in hopes that my measuring is correct. And I'm not looking for an overly sweet loaf either, which I find too many of the commercial banana breads are very sweet. And why are they very sweet? Because the sugar is replacing a lot of natural ingredients. So that sweetness well, that looks pretty good. A little more mix, and then I'm just going to put it into the pan and set it for bake, which is only going to take a half hour. And I'm using the Panasonic SD YD250 machine. Replaces my old Panasonic one that I had for over 20 years and worked well until Sandy destroyed it. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I will fill up the pan. Not wasting any of this. I could taste this, but you know what? I'm just going to wait until this is done. Now, if you don't want to use a bread machine, what you do is bake this in your a pan in the oven. This way I don't have to go into this, scrape down the sides of the pan to make sure that the mix was mixed well by the bread machine. And that's it. And I used what I said, pistachio nuts. Happen to have a lot of them, and I wanted to see how well they work out. And the cranberries, adding to this, is just a nice item to have. So in we go. And we're going to press that for start, and we'll be back in a half hour when it beeps. And if the bread machine, 30 minutes it's set to bake, I just have a feeling not going to be long enough. Well, that's absolutely no problem. So all you do is take a fine needle or a one of those long toothpicks and just stick it in. If it comes out dry, then you know the loaf is done. If it comes out wet, you can very simply put it back on bake, and after 15 minutes, check it again. No problem. Well, that's 30 minutes of baking, and doesn't look done to me. We'll just make sure it's very moist. Notice, so we just close it up. Press menu again and go for another 30 minutes. And since it is so moist like this, I'm going to give it the full 30 minutes. Well, another 15 minutes have passed. Feels nice, but I'm guessing it's not done yet. Let's look closely at that. You know what? It's just, see, it's sticky. That means it still needs a little more time. So I'm going to give it, just like I said, I'll give it the other 15 minutes. So that means this has taken 1 hour. Okay, this better be the final round. And it is. So that was 1 hour. Now, you never want to cut a loaf of bread that just came out of the oven or out of the bread machine. It has to rest, just like meat has to rest. All the steam has to come out of it. So we'll take this out. And we will very simply turn it out onto the and I will come back here and I will slice that in about, let's say, I'm going to wait a half hour. It's been a half hour. So I'm going to slice a piece, cut the end off, just take a look at it. I like the color. I'll save that end cut. Now I'm going to slice a regular piece. This will fit perfect in the toaster to toast this. Let's see if I had enough of the solid ingredients that went in there. No moisture, dry. That's good. Now you could substitute. You don't have to use butter. It just makes it richer. You could put oil. Well, that is banana. And the other thing I like about it is it's not sweet, because I cut down on the amount of sugar, because I look at many recipes for this and then I make up my own, and almost all of them have a lot more sugar. But you know what? The bananas are sweet, the cranberries have a nice taste, the pistachio nuts maybe could have been a little bit more. I will make the adjustments on the recipe. But as far as the taste, this is banana bread. Good. And the crust is crunchy. And I'm glad I used brown sugar because it's nice and dark. I used dark brown sugar, not light brown sugar. Well, that's good. So we will leave this. I will cut it in half this way. I will make thick slices wrap them up, put them in the freezer. Oh, I hope you enjoy. It came out good, trust me.